When my son told me he'd signed away his entire inheritance to a complete stranger, I collapsed right there in my kitchen. Days later, I was sitting across from my lawyer, plotting how to save him from the biggest mistake of his life. That's when I realized motherhood isn't just about protecting your child. Sometimes it's about protecting them from themselves. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're from. Because this story is about to twist harder than a tornado in a trailer park, and you'll want to be here for every shocking moment. My name is Ann Mitchell. 6 months ago, I was just another 58-year-old widow trying to rebuild my life after losing Richard, my husband of 30 years. We'd built a good life together, a beautiful home in Connecticut, a respected place in the community, and most importantly, our son Nathan. Richard had been a brilliant financial advisor who'd made wise investments throughout his career. When he died unexpectedly of a heart attack 2 years ago, he left behind a substantial fortune, nearly $8 million, most of which was designated for Nathan. I was financially secure with my own inheritance and our shared assets, but Richard had always wanted to ensure Nathan would have a solid foundation for his future. Nathan was 26 when his father died. He took it hard. They'd always been close. He'd followed in Richard's footsteps, studying finance at Boston University, and was working at a promising investment firm in the city. I was proud of him. Despite his grief, he seemed to be handling things well, making smart choices, building his career. Or so I thought. I still remember that Friday evening when everything changed. I was preparing dinner. Richard's favorite pot roast, a little tradition I kept up even after he was gone. The phone rang, and I heard Edith Fraser's voice on the line. Edith had been Richard's attorney for decades and had become a dear friend through the years. And, she said, her normally composed voice tight with urgency, "I need to see you. Tonight, if possible. Script part separator . Edith, what's wrong?" I asked, my hand gripping the phone tighter. "It's about Nathan. I can't discuss it over the phone." An hour later, Edith sat at my kitchen table, her leather briefcase open beside her coffee cup. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in its usual neat bun, but her face looked drawn, worried. "And," she said, sliding a document across the table, "I received this today from a colleague at Blackstone & Reed. Nathan signed this 3 days ago." The document's title jumped out at me, Irrevocable Transfer of Beneficiary Rights. Below were pages of legal jargon, but Edith's manicured nail pointed to the signature line. There was Nathan's signature, next to another name, Marcus Steele. "Who is Marcus Steele?" I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. "That's what concerns me," Edith said. "He appeared on the financial scene about a year ago. Claims to be some kind of investment genius. No real track record I can find." I scanned the document, the words blurring together until Edith said the words that made my blood run cold. "And Nathan has signed away his entire inheritance to this man. Every penny of Richard's money." The room spun. "That's not possible. There must be some mistake." "I wish there was. The terms are clear. Nathan has transferred all rights to his inheritance trust to Steele in exchange for partnership in some venture called Phoenix Global Investments. My colleague recognized your family name and contacted me immediately. But the trust, Richard set it up to protect Nathan. He can't just sign it away." Unfortunately, when Nathan turned 25, the protective clauses expired. Richard designed it that way. He wanted Nathan to have full control as an adult. Edith's voice softened. "Richard never imagined something like this." I stood up, so quickly my chair tipped backward, clattering against the floor. "I need to call Nathan. Right now. And wait." But I was already punching in his number, my fingers trembling. When his voicemail answered, I nearly threw the phone across the room. "He's not answering. I'm going to Boston. Tonight." "That might not be wise," Edith cautioned. "If this Steele character has convinced Nathan to do this, confronting him directly might push him further away." "What would you have me do?" I demanded. "Sit here while some con artist steals my son's future? Script part separator . Edith raised her hands. "No, of course not. But we need to be strategic. If Nathan's been manipulated, he might be defensive. Let me make some calls tonight, dig deeper into this Steele character. I'll see what I can find about Phoenix Global Investments too. I paced the kitchen, my mind racing. Why would Nathan do this? He was smart, educated in finance. How could he fall for some scam? And sit down, Edith said gently. Let's think this through. I collapsed back into my chair. What does this Marcus Steele get out of this? The trust doesn't pay out until Nathan's 30. That's 4 years away. That's what worries me, Edith replied, tapping the document. There's language here about accelerated disbursement for business investment purposes. Essentially, Steele can access the funds immediately by claiming they're for investment in this Phoenix venture. My stomach dropped. How much could he take? All of it, and the entire $8 million. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself. Richard had worked his entire life for that money. It was meant to secure Nathan's future, not line the pockets of some smooth-talking con artist. When can we stop this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. There's a 30-day rescission period, Edith explained. After that, it becomes much more difficult to contest. So we have less than a month to save my son from himself? Edith nodded grimly. And we can't do it without him. Nathan would need to voluntarily revoke the transfer. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed. 27 days. That's all we had to undo, whatever spell this Marcus Steele had cast over my son. I straightened my shoulders. Well then, I need to see my son. And... No, Edith. I'm his mother. If anyone can get through to him, it's me. What I didn't say was what I feared most, that I might already be too late. That the sweet boy I'd raised had somehow been turned against me by a stranger with empty promises and a silver tongue. The next morning, I was on the road to Boston by 6 a.m. I hadn't slept more than an hour, spending most of the night looking through old photo albums, wondering where I'd gone wrong. Had I sheltered Nathan too much after Richard died? Had my grief blinded me to something happening with my son? Script part separator . The drive to Boston usually calmed me, but that day, every mile increased my anxiety. I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd approach him. Nathan had always been reasonable. Surely he'd listen once I explained what was happening. I parked outside his apartment building in Back Bay, an upscale neighborhood he'd moved to 6 months earlier. I'd visited twice before, always calling ahead. This time, I wanted the element of surprise. The security guard recognized me and waved me through with a smile. Morning, Mrs. Mitchell. Nathan didn't mention you were coming. It's a surprise, I said, forcing a smile. Stepping out of the elevator on the 12th floor, I took a deep breath and knocked on his door. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Still nothing. Just as I was reaching for my phone to call him, the door across the hall opened. A young woman in workout clothes peered out. If you're looking for Nathan, he moved out last week, she said. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Moved out? Where? She shrugged. Don't know. One day, there was a moving crew packing everything up. He left a forwarding address with the building manager. I thanked her and rushed down to the lobby, my heart pounding. The manager was apologetic but firm. He couldn't give me Nathan's new address without permission. But I'm his mother, I insisted. I understand, ma'am, but our resident's privacy is protected. I can call him for you? Please, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The manager dialed, spoke briefly, then handed me the phone. Mom? Nathan sounded surprised. What are you doing in Boston? Where are you? I demanded. I'm at your apartment. I moved. I was going to tell you. Tell me now. Where are you? A pause. I'm at the Mandarin Oriental. Temporarily. Look, this isn't a good time. Nathan Richard Mitchell, I said, using his full name like I had when he was a child in trouble. We need to talk. Now. Another pause, longer this time. Fine. Meet me at Trident Booksellers on Newberry in an hour. Before I could respond, he hung up. Script part separator . I arrived at Trident Booksellers 45 minutes early, settling into a corner table where I could watch the door. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, so I ordered coffee. I didn't want just to have something to hold on to. When Nathan finally walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. Gone was his usual button-down shirt and khakis. Instead, he wore an expensive-looking suit that must have cost thousands, a flashy watch on his wrist, and designer sunglasses he removed as he scanned the cafe. He spotted me and approached, his face carefully neutral. "Hi, Mom." I stood to hug him, but he just gave me a quick pat on the shoulder before sitting down. That small rejection stung more than I expected. "Nathan, what's going on? You moved without telling me, and now Edith tells me you've signed away your entire inheritance to someone named Marcus Steele?" His eyes narrowed. "So that's why you're here. Edith went running to you." "Of course she did. She's looking out for you, just like I am." Nathan leaned back, signaling to the waitress. "Espresso, please." Then to me. "Mom, I know this seems sudden to you, but I've been working with Marcus for months. This is the opportunity of a lifetime." "Who is he, Nathan? Where did you meet him?" "He approached me at a finance conference. He's brilliant, made his first million by 25, and now he's building something revolutionary. Phoenix Global is going to change everything." "Change what, exactly?" Nathan's eyes lit up with an almost feverish excitement. "It's a new investment platform using proprietary algorithms to predict market fluctuations with 98% accuracy." "Mom, we're talking returns of 40% minimum." I'd heard enough investment pitches through Richard to recognize the red flags. If it's so revolutionary, why does he need your inheritance? Why not get traditional investors? Because he's selective about his partners. He doesn't want corporate interference. Nathan leaned forward. "Mom, I've seen the projections. In 5 years, that 8 million will be worth over 50 million. Nathan, listen to yourself. No legitimate investment guarantees those kinds of returns. This man is—" "Don't say it," he cut me off sharply. "Don't insult my intelligence by suggesting I'm being conned. I have a finance degree. I know what I'm doing." "Then why not discuss it with me first? Or with Edith? Why the secrecy?" Script part separator equals. "Because I knew you'd react exactly like this," Nathan said, his voice cooling. "You still see me as a child who needs protection. I'm a grown man making my own decisions." The waitress brought his espresso. He took a sip, his eyes never leaving mine. "Your father trusted you to make wise choices," I said softly. "That's why the protective clauses expired." "But Nathan, this isn't wise. It's reckless." "Don't bring Dad into this," he snapped. "He would have seen the potential. He would have understood." I felt my patience slipping. "Your father would never have handed over his life's work to a stranger without thorough vetting. He built that fortune over decades, Nathan. Decades. And now I'm building on his legacy," Nathan insisted. "This isn't just about money. Marcus is offering me a real partnership. I'll be working alongside him, learning from him." I tried a different approach. "Then why not invest some of the money? Why sign over everything?" His eyes slid away from mine. "It's complicated. The investment structure requires full commitment." I reached across the table, grabbing his hand. "Nathan, please. Just meet with Edith. Let her review the agreement. If everything's legitimate, what's the harm?" He pulled his hand away. "Marcus warned me you'd try to interfere." My blood went cold. "What else has Marcus told you about me?" Nathan checked his watch. "I have to go. We have a meeting with potential clients." "We?" I asked. "Is he here with you?" A flash of something, guilt, fear, crossed his face. "Yes. He's waiting." "I need to meet him," I said firmly. "Right now." "That's not possible," Nathan replied, standing. "Not today." "When then?" Script part separator equals. He sighed. "Maybe next week. I'll set something up." As he turned to leave, I grabbed his arm. "Nathan, wait. This isn't just about money. It's about protecting you. Please just step back and think about what you're doing." For a moment, his expression softened, and I saw a glimpse of my son, the real Nathan, not this stranger in expensive clothes parroting someone else's words. "Mom, I know you're worried, but I've never been more sure of anything. This is my chance to do something big, something that would make Dad proud." Then he was gone, leaving me sitting alone with an untouched coffee and a growing sense of dread. Back in my car, I called Edith immediately. "He's completely under this man's influence," I told her, my voice shaking. "He's staying at the Mandarin Oriental, a hotel that costs more per night than his old monthly rent. And the way he talked about this investment, it was like he was reciting from a script." "Did he agree to meet with me?" Edith asked. "He said, maybe next week. But I don't think we have that kind of time." "Edith, he said Steele is here in Boston with him. This could be our chance, and if we can meet Steele face to face, assess what we're dealing with." I gripped the steering wheel, watching the entrance to Trident Booksellers. What if I followed Nathan? Found out where they're meeting these potential clients? Too risky, Edith cautioned. "If Nathan spots you, it could push him further away. Let me call some contacts in Boston, see what I can find out about their operation there." Script part separator equals. I hung up and sat there, torn between Edith's sensible advice and my maternal instinct to chase after my son right that minute. The latter won out. I circled the block and parked where I could see the front of the cafe. 10 minutes later, Nathan emerged, checking his phone. Instead of heading toward the Mandarin Oriental, he walked in the opposite direction. I got out of my car and followed at a distance, my heart pounding. Nathan walked 3 blocks, then entered a gleaming office tower. Through the glass doors, I watched him greet the security guard and step into an elevator. Noting the building address, I called Edith again. "He's at the Hancock Tower," I told her. "Can you find out if this Phoenix Global has offices there?" Within an hour, Edith called back with troubling news. "Phoenix Global doesn't lease any office space in Boston," she said. "But Marcus Steele personally rents a virtual office there, basically a mail drop and conference room rental service." "So they don't have a real business presence?" I asked. "Not that I can find. And I've been making calls all morning. No one in legitimate finance circles has heard of Phoenix Global Investments. And the few who recognize Steele's name, well, the information isn't good." "What do you mean?" "He was investigated twice by the SEC for securities fraud. Charges dropped both times when witnesses suddenly became uncooperative. And there's a pending lawsuit in California from an investor who claims Steele misappropriated $3 million. My stomach churned. "Nathan's walking into a trap, isn't he?" "It's looking that way. But we need proof, not just suspicions." I'm filing emergency paperwork to try to freeze the trust, but without Nathan's cooperation, it's a long shot. Script part separator equals. I hung up and sat in my car, watching the building entrance. 2 hours later, Nathan emerged, but he wasn't alone. Beside him walked a tall man with salt and pepper hair, dressed in an impeccable charcoal suit. Even from a distance, I could see his easy confidence, the way he rested his hand on Nathan's shoulder like a proud father. Marcus Steele. It had to be. They climbed into a waiting black Bentley, and before I could think better of it, I grabbed my phone and snapped several photos. The car pulled away, and I quickly texted the images to Edith. Her response came minutes later. "That's him. Stay away from him, and these people can be dangerous." But I couldn't stay away. Not when my son was being led like a lamb to slaughter. The next morning, I checked into the Mandarin Oriental. If Nathan wouldn't come to me, I'd go to him. The reservation desk wouldn't confirm he was staying there, but I stationed myself in the lobby cafe with a clear view of the elevators. 3 cups of overpriced coffee later, I spotted them. Nathan and Steele stepped out of the elevator, deep in conversation. Before I could approach, a stunning young woman in a skin-tight dress joined them, kissing Steele's cheek before taking Nathan's arm possessively. The 3 walked past me without a glance, but I heard Steele say, "The transfer should clear by Friday." Then we're Cayman-bound for the weekend. My blood turned to ice. Friday was just 2 days away. Once that money moved offshore, we'd never see it again. I abandoned subtlety and followed them outside, watching them climb into the same Bentley. Impulsively, I hailed a taxi. "Follow that car," I said, feeling like I'd stepped into some surreal movie scene. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Lady, you serious?" "Deadly serious. My son's in that car, and he's in trouble." The driver shrugged and pulled into traffic behind the Bentley. Script part separator ===. 20 minutes later, we pulled up outside an upscale restaurant in Beacon Hill. I paid the driver and hurried inside, spotting Nathan and his companions at a corner table. I approached directly, ignoring the maitre d', trying to intercept me. Nathan's eyes widened in shock as I reached their table. "Mom, what are you?" "Nathan, I need to speak with you."
"Now."
The man beside him, Steele, stood smoothly, extending his hand. "You must be and Nathan's told me so much about you."
"I'm Marcus Steele."
His charm was palpable, his smile practiced. I ignored his hand. "Mr. Steele, I understand you've convinced my son to sign over his entire inheritance to you." His smile never faltered. "Please join us. I'd be happy to explain our partnership." The woman beside Nathan giggled nervously. "Nate, you didn't say your mother was coming." "He didn't know," I said, pulling out a chair and sitting down uninvited. "And you are?" "Brianna Winters," she said, her voice honey-sweet. "I'm head of client relations for Phoenix Global." I turned back to Steele. "Tell me, Mr. Steele, why isn't Phoenix Global registered with the SEC? And why do you only have a virtual office instead of real business premises?" His eyes hardened slightly, though his smile remained. "Mrs. Mitchell, I understand your concern. Any mother would question a sudden change in her son's financial situation. This isn't concern. This is me telling you that I know exactly what you're doing. The SEC investigations. The lawsuit in California. I know it all." Nathan stood abruptly. "Mom, stop it. You're embarrassing me." "No, Nathan," Steele said, still unnervingly calm. "Your mother is doing what any good parent would do. Let me address her concerns." He turned to me, his voice lowered confidentially. "The SEC investigations were initiated by competitors trying to undermine my work. Both were dropped because there was no evidence of wrongdoing. As for the California situation, a disgruntled investor who didn't have the patience to wait for returns and now wants his money back despite clear contractual terms. Script part separator ===. He was smooth, I'll give him that. His explanations slipped off his tongue like they'd been rehearsed 1,000 times. Nathan was nodding along, completely under his spell.
"Mom, see?
There's nothing shady happening here." "Then show me the paperwork," I demanded. "Let me see exactly what this partnership entails." Steele signaled to the waiter. "Perhaps we should order first. This conversation requires sustenance." It was a diversion tactic, but I wasn't having it.
"No.
What this conversation requires is honesty. You're planning to take my son to the Cayman Islands on Friday, after his money transfers. What happens then, Mr. Steele? Does Nathan just disappear like your other victims?" For a split second, Steele's mask slipped. His eyes flashed with something cold and dangerous before he recovered. "Mrs. Mitchell," he said, his voice harder now, "I think you've been misinformed. We're traveling to the Caymans to meet with our banking partners. Standard procedure for high-net-worth international investments." Nathan was glaring at me. "How do you even know about our trip? Have you been following me?" Before I could answer, Brianna touched Nathan's arm. "Nate, baby, maybe we should continue this privately. People are staring." She was right. Several nearby diners were watching our table with undisguised interest. I stood up. "Nathan, I'm staying at the Mandarin. Room 842. Please come see me tonight. Alone." As I turned to leave, Steele called after me. "Mrs. Mitchell, I hope we can clear this up. I have nothing but your son's best interests at heart." I looked back at him, meeting his gaze directly. "Mr. Steele, if anything happens to my son or his money, I will spend every penny I have and every breath in my body making sure you pay for it." His smile finally disappeared. "That sounds remarkably like a threat, Mrs. Mitchell." "It's not a threat," I replied. "It's a promise." Script part separator ===. Walking back to my hotel, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely text Edith. Confronting Steele had shown me exactly what we were dealing with, a predator with a well-practiced routine. The way Nathan looked at him, that mixture of admiration and eagerness to please, it made my skin crawl. I didn't expect Nathan to come to my room that night, but at 11:42 p.m., there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, my son stood there, looking agitated. "You had no right to ambush me like that," he said, pushing past me into the room. I closed the door quietly. "I'm trying to protect you." "By stalking me? Following me to restaurants, and embarrassing me in front of my business partners?" "Business partners?" I echoed. "Nathan, that woman had her hands all over you. Is she sleeping with you?" His face flushed. "That's none of your business. It is when she's part of a scheme to steal your inheritance." I grabbed his arm. "Nathan, listen to me. Once that money transfers, they're taking you to the Caymans. What do you think happens next?" He pulled away. "We set up the offshore accounts for tax purposes. It's completely legal. And when the money's safely offshore, what's to stop them from cutting you loose? Have you thought about that?" For a moment, uncertainty flickered across his face. Then he squared his shoulders.
Marcus isn't like that.
"He's teaching me everything he knows." I changed tactics. "When did you move out of your apartment?"
What?
"A few weeks ago." "What does that matter?" "And who suggested the Mandarin Oriental? One of the most expensive hotels in Boston?" "Marcus thought it would be good for meeting clients." "And who's paying for it?" He hesitated. "Phoenix Global. It's a company expense."
No, Nathan.
"It's your expense. Your inheritance is paying for everything. The hotel, the Bentley, probably that watch you're wearing, and that suit. They're spending your money before they even have it." "That's ridiculous," he said, but I could see the first real crack in his certainty.
Is it?
Ask yourself why a successful financier needs your money at all. If his investment strategy is so revolutionary, why isn't he using his own funds? Script part separator ===. Nathan paced the room, running his hands through his hair. "It's not just my money. Marcus has substantial personal investment in Phoenix Global. This is a partnership." "Did he show you proof of his investment? Bank statements? Transfer records?" Nathan hesitated. "Not specifically, but have you seen Phoenix Global's offices? Met any employees besides Brianna? We've been working from the virtual office. It's more efficient more efficient? Or cheaper because it doesn't actually exist." I moved closer to him. "Nathan, I spoke with Edith this afternoon. She contacted 5 of her top finance colleagues. None of them have heard of Phoenix Global's revolutionary algorithm. None of them have seen any evidence of the return steal promises. They're jealous," Nathan insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. "Marcus operates in exclusive circles. Exclusive enough that there's no trace of his supposed success." I pulled out my phone and showed him an article Edith had sent. "This investor in California trusted Steele. Now he's lost everything, his retirement savings, his home." The lawsuit claims Steele used the same promises, the same partnership language. Nathan stared at the screen, his face pale. "That's just one person. Anyone can make accusations." 3 others settled quietly, Edith discovered. Signed NDAs. "But the pattern is identical, Nathan. Steele finds successful, intelligent Marks, yes, Marks, convinces them he's offering exclusive access to revolutionary investments, then disappears with their money." Nathan sat heavily on the edge of the bed. "Even if you're right, and I'm not saying you are, it's too late. I've signed the papers." "It's not too late," I said gently, sitting beside him. "You have the right to rescind within 30 days. We can stop this, Nathan. Together." He was silent for a long time, then looked at me with eyes that suddenly seemed much younger. "What if you're wrong, Mom? What if this really is my big chance?" I took his hand. "Then prove me wrong. Ask Steele for proof, real proof. Bank statements showing his investments. Regulatory filings. Client testimonials from people you can actually speak with. If everything's legitimate, he should have no problem providing these." My phone rang, Edith. I answered on speaker. "And we've got something," she said without preamble. "The California plaintiff's attorney just sent over documents. Steele's pattern is to move the money through 3 offshore accounts, then vanish. He's done this at least 7 times in the last decade under different company names." Nathan's face drained of color. Edith continued, "And Anne? He doesn't travel to the Caymans alone. He takes his victims with him, gets them to sign final transfer paperwork there, then disappears. 2 of his previous marks were found drugged in their hotel rooms, with no memory of signing anything. Jesus, I whispered, looking at Nathan. The full horror of what might have happened hit me like a physical blow. Nathan stood up, his expression hardening. I need to go. Nathan, wait.
No, Mom.
I need to think. After he left, I called Edith back. He knows, I told her. But I don't know if it's enough. What if he confronts Steele? That could be dangerous, Edith warned. Steele won't just let $8 million walk away. What can we do? We need to move first. I've prepared the rescission documents. If Nathan signs them, we can file immediately and freeze the trust. And I've contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division with what we have so far. The next morning, I waited anxiously in my room. No word from Nathan. By noon, panic was setting in. I tried calling him, straight to voicemail. I went down to the front desk. Excuse me, I said to the concierge. My son is staying here, Nathan Mitchell. Could you ring his room? The concierge tapped at his computer, then frowned. I'm sorry, but Mr. Mitchell checked out early this morning.